Writers find inspiration from many different sources, but for this author, it was her son's 22-year battle with cancer that led to a series of books. Today, let's meet Gananoque's Gretchen Huntley. Gretchen, you have the most interesting characters, the Grogs from Grumple. How did that all start?
Well, when my granddaughter was about 3 years old, she never wanted you to read her storybooks. She always called them kid never heard stories. So we would go back and tell them all kinds of things that happened when we were kids and embarrassing things. Finally, we ran out of ideas. And I got this idea to come up with this character out of my head called the Grog and try to write little stories for her. So I did 6 of them originally, and they were on different things, like one, the Grog gets the mumples. Not the mumps, but the mumples. And he comes out with bumples, of course. What would he come out with? And then I had to write one on Desiree, so it's little Desi Huntle from the town of Grumple. And in the end, there were 6 of them. And I put them away. She got older, and nothing ever came of them again. Not for years and years. And then as my grandchildren got older, I kind of moved in a different direction.
Well, then your life and hers took a very nasty turn.
Absolutely. Well, my son John had been diagnosed, well, actually 22 years ago with cancer. But he had lived with it on and off. It came, it went, and he just lived a life of a lot of discomfort, a lot of pain. But he's still married and had 2 beautiful children, Desiree and John. And I got thinking one day, my grandchildren have grown up with cancer. They've seen Daddy lose his hair, Daddy gets sick, he goes into the bathroom, Daddy's tired, he goes and lays down. Most kids never see that until it happens in their family. Then it's a very, very frightening thing. They don't know what to expect. And for the parents, they have to, on top of dealing with the illness, they have to figure out a way to go home and explain to their children. And that's when I got the brainstorm of taking Desiree's little character, the Grog, and writing a story about Mama Grog getting sick.
And the idea behind the Grogs, as I understand, there's no race attached to them. They could be for any child of any nationality.
Absolutely. There is no other Grogs like our Grogs. And they have bright yellow fur, and they have a star on their end of their nose that lights up when they're upset, lights up when they're happy. They're just very different little creatures. When I completed the first one, this was illustrated by a woman called Bernadette Truesdell, and a lovely woman who is also a breast cancer survivor. And she did a great job. And my son loved it, but he said to me, "You know, Mom, I wish I had tried to illustrate it." And I said to him, "There's 6 others sitting there that have never been touched. If you want to illustrate one, you go right ahead and illustrate one." So he was the one that picked the one on bullying. He wanted to do the big-footed Grog from Grumple. And he just had a field day with it. He drew the pictures, and he just had the best time. I can't remember seeing him so excited about anything, because he had been home living on disability and spending his life coping with cancer. So it really gave him a lift, and we did it together. It was a real mother and son project, not the mother and son project of dealing with his illness, which we have always done together. This was fun. And we did a book signing, and we had a book launch, and he was so thrilled with it when it was completed. It was just a dream come true. I couldn't have been happier with it.
And who is this book meant for? Who would buy this book?
This is for any child that just loves stories. But the nicest thing about the story is there's a purpose behind it. There's a reason. Because this little fella has huge feet. And he gets in the way, and he falls down, and the kids at school pick on him. So one day he goes and he hides in the park behind a tree. And the band is playing. And the band was terrible. They couldn't keep a beat. Well, his little feet started to pound, and you know what happened. It picked up the beat, and the band started playing in rhythm for the first time in years. And the outcome was they made him the leader of the band. I had started many years ago a group called the Get Well Gang, and it's the little group that I started, and we donate hats to cancer patients. So I thought, well, if I'm going to send hats, why not send a few books along? And I had enough people who cared about my project that they donated enough money that I was able to get the books printed at no cost to me. So as a result, we can give them free of charge to cancer patients and their families, and that's what we've been doing right along. We try to get them into the hospitals and locations like that. Well, first off, we have a brand new website that I'm very proud of, www.gretchenhuntley.ca. Our books are for sale at Novel Idea in Kingston. They're for sale here at PharmaSave in Gananoque, as well as Strands of Time Hair Salon in Gananoque as well. And my goal is to get them into palliative care, to get them in with grievance counselors, to get them into funeral homes, any place where we can maybe just help a child or an adult deal with this difficult time, because it's a very painful time. And just on one other note with the Magic Mirror, John, who had written this, sadly passed away on May 9th of this year. So the book was to be dedicated to Dr. George Lynn, because he was just amazing and he was so supportive of everything I've done. It just seemed right that it be dedicated to John.
Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
For more information about this series of books, visit Gretchen's website. We'll be back in Gananoque next week to talk to Gretchen about another project. I'm Donna Chambers for K-Town Source.